Hello everyone, this is Chase Pounds, and today's video as coinciding with the Christmas season. My next topic of discussion is going to be on the Christmas TV special Roots the Gift. Now, what particularly brought me into this subject of discussion about the TV show Roots the Gift is because I have referenced this movie in my previous video on the Thanksgiving and the Black experience, and this made me want to review the I guess not so much review, but discussed about the movie Roots the Gift, and I guess it's again referencing its historical significance, though in the going into the story about Roots the Gift, Roots the Gift was a follow-up sequel, as you could say, to the original or like an into a new chapter of Saga to the original miniseries Roots that came out in 1977. That starred LeVar Burton, Gossett Jr., and John Ames, who played the older version of Kunta Kinte. Kunta Kinte it was it tells a supposedly true story, though it's been speculated over time over recent years that Alex Haley's story is supposedly based on his ancestry was mostly fabricated from a book he inspired by another book he had probably heard called The African, which was a similar tale of a fictitious tale of an African that was enslaved, part of the early American slave trade during the 18th century, and supposedly and this what Roots was his book Roots was based off of, which then became the popular miniseries that most people are familiar with. Along with there being a remake, there was a remake recently there was a remake for TV again in 2016 on the History Channel. But what I'm going to be discussing about in my video is on the Christmas special Roots the Gift. Some of you may be familiar with it, some may not be. As there was two sequels after the original Roots. There was Roots the Next Generations, which talks about Alex Haley's ancestry after the ancestry during the post-Reconstruction era up to the Civil Rights era, 1964, of his present day of his life. And what I'm just discussing about is the Christmas special Roots the Gift. Now, Roots the Gift had aired on ABC on December 11th, 1988, and was and starred some of the very original cast members of the first chapter of the beginning of the miniseries, which was LeVar Burton playing Kunta Kinte and Gossett Jr. as Fiddler. That Fiddler, which tells the story of the two being sent to a near neighboring plantation to help out for a Christmas special that being sent to a nearby plantation to help for a Christmas party or Christmas event that they're having and both Kute Kinte and Fiddler are sent to help as servants at this nearby plantation, and it's then it's then that Kuta Kinte encounters a free man from the north who for some, I forget what's the reason why, but he's in the south. I think he's supposedly trying to help I guess help free some other slaves, and he is caught in the act, and is and loses his freedom by a female slave catcher who 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 a female slave catcher who who puts him who shackles him and puts him in shackles him and is severely punished, and I guess, as I said, he loses his freedom, and both both and unfortunately Kuta Kinte, feeling sorry for him losing his freedom, feels, I guess, some empathy at the same time, longing to be free himself, and still plotting and planning to try and escape. Feels remorse for it's in awe of the free man, at the same time feeling sympathy at the same. But unfortunately, Fiddler Fiddler thinks otherwise, thinking that his place is only as a slave for Virginia, and doesn't deserve to be free, and doesn't know any type of freedom and freedom and unfortunately at the same time one of the planters son the plant unfortunately the plantation son who's the plantation owner's son comes whose son who was away in Harvard as a student, comes back down south to visit his family for the holidays. At the same time, while being in Harvard, he's been he's I guess been transformed, or has has changed his way of thinking as part of the abolitionist movement and part of the Underground Railroad. Now, granted, as I said, that most of everything in this, I'll eventually get to that, but he starts he is part of the Underground Railroad movement, abolitionist movement of the North, and unfortunately, this doesn't sit well with his family, who were pro-slavery people of aristocracy, and see him as somewhat troublesome. But at the same time, he has sympathy. The son has sympathy for slaves, and thinks them as human beings, and thinks that they deserve to be free. It's then that he plans an escape. He plans a escape form method plan of escape on Christmas Day to free a group of slaves. And among this group is Kunta Kinte and Fiddler. Though Fiddler, as I said before, is kind of content with for his life as a slave, as a slave, and doesn't long for any form of freedom, and thinks that freedom doesn't exist, and that it'll only amount to trouble and punishment. But eventually, seeing in the scene where Kunta Kinte is used as a donkey in the for the Christmas play, he kind of has sympathy and remorse for Kunta Kinte and changes his, I guess, somewhat his way of thinking, and partakes in this plan of escaping. At the same time, as this is taking place, as rumors of revolt or uprising taking place, and all the slaves are rounded up who were conspired of this uprising, including the newly captured free man I mentioned earlier. There he is severely punished and is actually sent to the gallows and hung. Further motivate, I guess, Fiddler and Kunta Kinte to escape, seeing that life as a slave is just as brutal. Just the life of a slave is really brutal, and takes his chances trying fleeing with a group of slaves. They for most part successful, as they are ahead of the slave catchers and the bloodhounds. But unfortunately, as they're about to cross the river, I think that river that separates them from the northern border. There was the only problem is there's a boat was not able to transport all the people in the group, leaving Kunta Kinte and Fiddler debating on whether they should stay or go. At the end, they both decide to stay, as the boat leaves with all the other free people, all the other slaves that are now finally free, successfully escaped and are finally free. And it's then they take their chances and wait, and I guess await their fate or their punishment. But then eventually the son who co-inspired the escape to begin with comes by and checks to see what has happened and see how everything went, and sees that Fiddler and Kunta Kinte are still left behind, and he feels very sorry for them for not being able to escape the rest of the slaves. And he comes up with a plan to try and spare them from any severe wrath or punishment. In the end, they and are sent back to the plantation, and and are unfortunately sent back to their rightful owner, Mr. Reynolds, from the original roots. But yet, fortunately, they don't receive any harsh or severe punishment. In the same time, are happy that all the other slaves are free, despite them being left behind. But as most people would know, that from the original series, Kunta Kinte never escapes. Never successfully escapes. All the attempts he escapes, he always fails and never was free. Free, of course. And that's the story of Roots the Gift. The gift, even though granted the story of Roots the Gift itself is fabricated and there's a lot of historical inaccuracies in the TV show itself, such as I mentioned in the original Roots, it's some of the inaccuracies in the original Roots was that the Nat Turner revolt was 10 years late, as it happened in 1831 in reality, but in the show series it happened in 1841. That was one of the historical inaccuracies. But in this one particularly, as I mentioned before, at that time during the 18th century, one starters, Christmas wasn't really it existed. People, it was celebrated underground, but what wasn't really the Christmas that we come to think of today, about opening of having extravagant parties, gift giving, the Santa Claus, and the Santa Claus, other things that we associate with the holidays did not exist during this period yet, even during the 18th century. And it's not until the mid 19th century, particularly probably between in England, in 1840s England, that the Christmas that the modern Christmas that we tend to celebrate today took shape. It wouldn't only catch on to the United States probably a few years later, probably towards the beginning or during the Civil War, perhaps. And what's portrayed in Roots, the celebrations portrayed in Roots are mostly not historically accurate. Not only that, the whole plot of the escape and the Underground Railroad system wasn't even existent yet either during that part of the 18th century, until, as at this time, even in the North, and this is something Bruce doesn't really touch upon or make known, that slavery at one point in time existed even in the North. It's not until after the Revolution that many states started becoming free. So in reality, a lot of slaves could have been re-enslaved in the North. But that's the I guess that's one of the myths that many people get confused. Even though this is mostly fictitious, like I said before, there is some truth to this, that during the holidays around Thanksgiving, which Thanksgiving as well wasn't prevalent holiday yet either, especially in the American Deep South, as people thought of it as a Yankee holiday, destroying their way of Southern life, and people who were really liberal people that were more into the idea of abolishing slavery. But both Christmas and Thanksgiving were often the holidays where, on many rare occasions, that slaves were, in some cases, would take a part in this, what sometimes were able to visit nearby plantations with special passes to go and visit family members, spouses, children on nearby plantations. And some of them took advantage of this and would escape, sometimes delayed because there was lack of patrol with it being the holidays, with the lack of people patrolling the areas. There was many slaves had more chances of escaping and not being noticed for days, where a lot of them escaped successfully. So I think this is kind of what this I think the actor does portray slavery, though, that a lot of times holidays was the best opportunities for escape for many slaves, in my opinion. And this was Now this is a movie I seen many couple of times before, going back to when I was in going back to when I was in high school, around the holidays. They were often showing Marathon of Roots at the end on the BET station channel. They would show a Marathon of Roots around the holidays, around whether it was often Thanksgiving, Christmas, around President's Day coinciding with Black History Month, Easter one time, and even Labor Day in 2014, after the Michael Brown, just weeks after Michael Brown unrest in my hometown of St. Louis. And this movie is something I guess kind of a tradition of watching I guess Black History movies around the holidays. Being pretty significant for me, being a history buff, and this being one of my movies, holiday period movies I would watch. I did a video before on my favorite period movies, along with the Christmas Story and Yes, Virginia Claus. There is a Santa, which was based on the true story. Christmas Story, though, is fictitious, but still a period story that that stands out, that I like to watch around the holidays. And adding to this, my list would probably Rooster Gift. Being a remarkable story itself, and even though the main characters don't really escape, it's nice to see that the other slaves were able to escape, even especially on Christmas, the most wonderful time of the year, supposed to be the most wonderful time of the year, and what it represents in spiritual context, and it's a movie that stands out to me. And that's all I got to say about this movie. And also, not only that, this was also the first time in this movie, Bruce the Gift, that I had seen, my first time being aware there was free black people. Before that, when I was watching this when I was 15 years old in first year of high school, I wasn't really, I guess I knew about slavery, but I just wasn't, I heard about slavery, but it wasn't a subject I really studied, or like I said in some other videos, that I wasn't that into Black history as I am in now. And I wasn't really aware that there was such a thing as free blacks. I just assumed that all blacks were slaves. But until watching this, my first awareness of free blacks, and seeing a black man on a horse with all dressed in the best 18th century formal attire, with the colonial hat, something I wasn't used to, I guess, until then was used to seeing a person of color. And that's one of the things that made this movie stand out. Again, this is the Christmas special, Rooster Gift. Most people are not some people have seen it, some may not be aware of it. But this is all I had to say on this video, and this is another video by Chase Pounds. Happy holidays to all. Stay tuned for my next video.